Welcome everybody, or welcome back if you're returning. WB here, thanks for tuning into the channel. Today we're going to be enabling conditional access inside of Microsoft Entra ID, and then we're going to hop on over and do some configuration in Microsoft Intune. If you like the content that you see here, be sure to subscribe and click that notification bell. Like, share, and comments are always welcome. And if you want to continue this discussion, join us on our Discord server, link also in the description below. Let's not waste any more of your precious time. Let's dive in. All right, everybody, here we are on my Windows desktop, and I'm logged into a couple different locations. I'm logged into the Entra Admin Center, as well as logged into the Intune Admin Center, too. Now, I will tell you, I'm showing you both of these interfaces because I don't know what they're going to ask you on the exam, right? I know what the skills are measured are, enabling and deploying conditional access. Keep in mind that it is a Microsoft 365 endpoint administrator exam, which means anything in really, when we look at Entra ID or the Azure AD, right, that's the identity store for the entire Microsoft 365 or cloud-based, ecosystem, right? So they could ask you from Entra ID, or they could ask you from the Intune Admin Center as well. So that's why I'm going to give you both. But the great thing is, once you know the first couple of clicks, which blades to click in both interfaces, the configurations of the policies are identical. And I love when you can study something, once, and it can benefit you in two different interfaces. Really helps out. So let's go ahead. Let's start in the Microsoft Entra Admin Center here. And specifically, remember, we're in Entra ID. Those of you that are new, to the Microsoft identity infrastructure, I guess I should say, remember this was formerly called Azure Active Directory. Entra ID today, though. So we're going to go here. We're going to scroll down a little bit, and you're going to see, and I'll try to zoom in on these and try not to show you my start menu by accident like I've done in so many of my videos here. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to choose conditional access. And if you already have conditional access policies, you're going to see some information here. However, since I don't have any conditional access policies, it gives me kind of these initial tasks that you can perform, right? Which we're going to create a new policy coming up here. But we'll do that from this create a new policy button here. And we'll go ahead and choose that. And now here is where we get the ability to start to configure our policy. Now, depending on, let's start with the naming convention, right? Your naming convention should be unique and easily identifiable, right? User-friendly, right? Think about your network infrastructure training, right? When we talk about DNS, right? Fully qualified domain names are user-friendly, so we don't have to remember an IP address every time we want to try to locate an endpoint or a service over the network, right? They really should be, those FQDNs should be something that you can recognize, right? That's a proper naming convention. Well, this is, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to call this West US, and I'm going to call this config dash, actually, you know what? This is not a configuration policy. That was another video. This is, we're going to call this conditional access, and I could torture you all out there with my bad typing abilities, right? So that's a good thing that they're not scoring that on the exam, or I would fail. So there's our name. For me, this is going to be our West US Branch Conditional Access Policy 01, and here we get the ability to assign our identities to this. Now, I do want to make you aware of something. Be careful with your assignments because you could, based on the conditional access policy that you set, you could lock yourself out, and I do mean global administrators, right? Because so for instance, let me select users here, and I want you to notice that we can do an include or an exclusion, and if I choose all users, notice that it gives me this little warning. It's saying, hey, don't lock yourself out, right? Because if all users includes all your global administrators too, which have the administrator privileges to the interfaces, for instance, the one that you see right here. So it's telling you be careful with that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and choose select users. And I'm going to select a specific group here. So let's say we're going to do this on a pilot group, right? We don't want to do this on the entire infrastructure. So I'm going to choose a specific user and group, and I have a sales group down here, right? So we're going to pick on sales, and you'll see that is now in your list, and we can choose select. Right, and if we scroll down, we can now see that we have our sales group in the list. Now, there are a couple other things. Now, I want you to keep in mind that conditions have nothing selected yet. That's going to change even before I get into conditions. We'll talk about some of those signals coming up. Now, once that's done, we can choose our target resources. And here is, I'm going to give you another warning here too. Right, so when we talk about what resources, right, maybe those target resources, do we want to apply this policy to? You have to be careful. So, for instance, if I choose all resources, remember what I told you about global administrators? Well, the Azure portal is a resource. It is a cloud app, right? It's a SaaS-based solution, an administrative SaaS-based solution to configuring your Azure resources. And if this policy applies to all cloud apps, right, it's going to apply to the Azure portal as well. So you got to be very careful. Do not lock yourself out, right? That's why, again, pilot groups are definitely preferred when you try this out or when you're configuring this. And there's some others fail-safes that we can look at when we progress through here as well. Now, another thing that we can do is network locations if we want. We could say trusted network. So, for instance, if we configure this, we could say any network or location, or we can say all trusted networks and locations. Now, let me see. Yep. So notice that now I have a condition selected. This is part of the signals when we talk about conditional access, and I'll mention a little bit more of about those signals coming up. But notice that because I selected any network or location, now we do have a condition that needs to be met too, even though I didn't select one yet. Well, I kind of did, but not in that category. So speaking of conditions, let's go ahead. Let's try conditions here, and these are the signals that we can basically control access on, right? So user risk, sign-in risk, insider risk, device platform. Notice the locations here, again, selected in the previous section, but included here, client apps, filter for devices, and authentication flows, right? So if I wanted to configure this, I could do maybe user risk here. It pops out, says, do you want to configure it? We're going to choose yes. Maybe I choose medium here. All right, now be careful because you got to choose done. And maybe we do sign-in risk as well. Keep in mind that network location is also something that is now added to this as well. So sign-in risk, we'll go ahead and choose yes. Maybe the sign-in risk, again, is going to be medium. Maybe I do high sign-in risk when we talk about administrative level credentials, right? So you can apply this to your administrators as well and really get granular about their access. But again, remember, just like anything in security, right? We can increase our security, but we might decrease availability if we're not careful. Right, our resources are so secure, even our authorized users can't access them. Right, so we'll choose done to this. Right, and that's our condition. Then we're going to set access controls. Right now, your access control is going to be allow or granted or block, and we can actually define some attributes there, really granular attributes there as well. So let's go ahead and choose our grant or deny, right? Or I should say grant, allow, block, deny. And we could choose maybe, require multi-factor authentication. Now, these two can't be combined, and it'll let you know here, right? Notice it says consider testing the new require authentication strength if we want, right? Notice that it tells you that those two cannot be used. And we could require our device to be compliant, right? So again, keeping in mind, right, make sure your device is compliant. It's telling you do not lock yourself out. So you're getting multiple warnings here, but we'll go ahead and choose select. Now, once we've chosen select, I'll address this new pop-up dialog box here in a second. Let's go ahead and just briefly talk about session. Session, depending on how you have your tenant set up, will dictate what you can use in here, right? So notice it talks about which apps this currently works with and when you start adding attributes here, right, it talks about some additional things that you might need to set up. Now I'm going to deselect that here, and even if you've deselected it, you still have to kind of choose select here. And then we're ready to create. One thing I want to let you know is that once we got this pop up, right? Policies and report modes requiring compliant devices might still prompt your Mac, your iOS, Android, and Linux users to select a device certificate. So for this instance, you can actually exclude without having to go back up and exclude them by group. You can exclude those platforms. Now, the last thing that I want to address when you're enabling conditional access is this setting here, right? So up until this time, we've got warning, we got another warning, we got a warning, and then a warning about a warning, right? About not locking yourself out. So in addition to assigning these to a pilot group, like we're doing like sales group here, we also can put this in a report mode, right? And then what this does is kind of like an RSOP. If you think about your Active Directory, the resultant set of policy, if I want to know what policies apply to a, let's say a domain workstation, I can go in and I can do GP result and then a /R, and it'll give me the RSOP. It'll tell me all of the policies that are applying currently to that machine. While the report-only mode, I would encourage you not only just to include or just to assign this to a subset of your groups, I would also encourage you to use report only, because it'll show you what the potential impact is prior to actually turning this on. When you turn this on, you are enforcing it, and if any one of these attributes in the CA policy aren't met, you will potentially lock yourself out. So just keep that in mind when it comes to how you apply this policy. Now I'm going to go ahead and choose create, and it'll validate it, and hopefully if I have done everything right, we'll see that we've got a successful conditional access policy. But now what we can do, teacher that I had and a coworker said, never fear the refresh, right? So we'll hit the refresh button here, and now notice how the overview blade changes, because again, we do have a conditional access policy here. And if we wanted to see that policy, we can choose policies here, and the policy is down here at the bottom. Now, let's go ahead, right? So that is how you get there. As a recap, remember, for your exam endeavors, right? You're in Microsoft Entra Admin Center. You're going to go under the Entra ID section. You're going to scroll down. You're going to find conditional access, and this is where you configure and enable conditional access in the Entra Admin Center. Let's go ahead. Like I promised you, let's hop over to the Microsoft Intune Admin Center, and there's really only a couple of different steps to get there, right? It is in a different location, but then once you get to that location, it is identical to what we've seen here inside of Entra ID. So it makes it easy, right? So where are we going here when we talk about the Intune Admin Center? But we're going to scroll down. We're going to go to Endpoint Security, and you'll see plenty of different things, policies that we can create under Manage. You can also see that I put a character in there, so it's not finding what I wasn't searching for to begin with, right? But under Manage, right, this is where we can do advanced or antivirus, disk encryption. We can come down here and do an ASR policy, attack surface reduction policy. I've showed you account protection policies in other lessons where we can enable things like lapse in Windows as well. But down here at the bottom under Manage is Conditional Access. And when you select Conditional Access, one of the things that you should notice is that, well, it's pretty much the same interface, right? So once you're there, again, as a recap, remember, we went to Endpoint Security, right? And from Endpoint Security, under Manage, we went to Conditional Access, right? So a couple different locations, to get there. Once you know that, from there, we could create a policy. If we choose Create New Policy, notice that we are just doing the same exact thing that we just did in Entra ID. So, like I said, once you know how to get there, it does give you, an advantage, because now you know how to configure them as well. Let's go ahead. Let's look at our policies, because I also want to show you that report-only mode too. So I'm going to select, now that we're in Intune Admin Center, let's go ahead. We'll select policies, see the policy that we have here. right? And we can, again, see all that information. But what I want you to see is that, well, policy information is kind of lackluster. It'll give you like a GUID here. Let's view policy. Yeah, there's the policy ID, like a globally unique identifier when it was created. But what's really cool here, remember, we are in report-only mode, and if we wanted to turn this on, we could configure it from Intune again as well. But notice this view policy impact. This is really cool because this is kind of like the ability to see who this would impact over the last 7 days, right? We could reset our filters here. We just implemented this, so there really isn't going to be any information to show here. But I do want you to be able to see that, right? And then if we've seen that it isn't really having any negative impact, right, to our pilot group. Maybe step 2, phase 2, if you will be to turn this on and start to enforce it. Right, and then again, once that is configured, we go through a period of monitoring, again, coming back here to viewing policy impact, and if we see that we are successful and we're not, we get the results that we want, then from there we can start to roll out and change the assignment here and get, maybe deploy this out to a broader set of users. Right, so there you have it, from end-to-end conditional access inside of Microsoft Intra Admin Center, as well as hopping over to the Microsoft Intune Admin Center. Once you know how to get to in the first couple of steps, remember the configuring the policy and looking at the attributes and including the impact is all the same. So that'll help you out tremendously, especially in scenarios on the exam where you might be facing a situation where you need to be aware of that. And speaking of being aware, thank you for joining us. If you want to be aware of additional episodes or videos that are coming out, click that notification bell. I encourage you to subscribe, share. Comments are always welcome. Click that like. It really helps the channel. Thank you so much for taking the time and joining.